My brothers and sisters, today I want to speak to you about something that quietly, subtly, yet profoundly affects the quality of our lives every single day. The tendency to compare ourselves with others. This habit, which at first glance may seem harmless or even motivating, is in truth one of the most deceptive thieves of our peace, our confidence, and our happiness. It is a silent, pervasive force that we allow to seep into our thoughts, our decisions, and even the way we perceive our own worth. We live in a world that constantly pushes comparison upon us. From the moment we wake up and scroll through our phones, we are inundated with images of what others have achieved, how they appear, and what they seem to possess. Social media, television, even casual conversations all too often serve as reminders that someone else appears to be doing better, achieving more, or living a life more glamorous, more fulfilled, or more meaningful than our own. And when we fall into this trap, our minds begin to weave narratives that are harsh, unforgiving, and unkind. We begin to tell ourselves that we are not enough, that we are behind, or that we lack something essential simply because someone else seems to have it. But the truth, the profound truth, is that every human being's journey is entirely unique. No two paths are the same. No two struggles are identical. What you see on the surface in someone else's life is never the full story. We rarely see the challenges, the disappointments, the long nights of effort, the failures, or the sacrifices that accompany what appears to be success. And yet, when we compare ourselves, we measure our behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. Imagine for a moment a garden. Each plant grows in its own time, in its own way, according to the soil, sunlight, and care it receives. Some bloom quickly, some slowly. Some face harsh winds or poor soil but still persist, while others thrive in fertile conditions. Would it make sense for one plant to judge itself by the growth of another? Of course not. And yet, that is exactly what we do when we compare our lives to others. We forget that our journey is not meant to mirror someone else's. We forget that our timing, our circumstances, our unique experiences, and our personal growth cannot be measured by anyone else's standards. Each of us has been entrusted with a set of talents, passions, and a unique potential that no one else can fulfill in the way we can. When we focus on comparison, we shift our attention away from developing our own strengths, honing our unique abilities, and pursuing our personal purpose. Instead, we fall into a cycle of envy, self-doubt, and frustration. But I want you to pause for a moment and consider this. If every human being is different, why do we measure ourselves using the same yardstick as others? Why do we let society, media, or even our friends dictate what success, happiness, or fulfillment should look like for us? True fulfillment cannot be borrowed, copied, or imitated. It comes from embracing your individuality, your strengths, and yes, even your weaknesses, for they shape the person you are meant to become. Comparison, on the other hand, is a thief. It steals the joy of accomplishment. It undermines gratitude. It blinds us to the progress we have made, however small it may seem. I want you to remember that your journey is not a competition. Your life is not a race. There is no finish line where someone else's success diminishes yours. Each step you take, no matter how incremental, is meaningful and significant in the context of your life. And when we free ourselves from comparison, something remarkable happens. We begin to see the value of our own experiences. We begin to cultivate gratitude for what we have and for the person we are becoming. We recognize that the struggles we face, the challenges we endure, and the lessons we learn are shaping us in ways that are uniquely ours. In a society obsessed with measuring worth by external markers, wealth, popularity, fame, it takes courage to step back and recognize that the real measure of a person's life is not how it stacks up against others, but how fully it is lived according to their own purpose and values. Consider the lives of those who have left a lasting impact on humanity. Rarely were they focused on what others were doing. They were focused on their vision, their purpose, their contribution. They did not achieve greatness by imitation, but by authentic action, by embracing who they were and what they were called to do. And this is what we must remind ourselves every day. The only person we should compare ourselves to is the person we were yesterday. Are we growing? Are we learning? Are we becoming a better version of ourselves according to our own unique path? Every day we have the choice to invest our energy in self-improvement rather than comparison. We can choose to celebrate others without diminishing our own worth. We can choose to be inspired by others' achievements instead of feeling threatened. We can choose to recognize that someone else's success is not a reflection of our failure, but a reminder that possibilities are infinite and that there is enough opportunity in this world for everyone to shine. Let me share a truth that is often overlooked. When we stop comparing ourselves, we unlock a level of inner freedom that is transformative. We stop living in scarcity and begin living in abundance. We stop seeking validation from external sources and start nurturing self-respect. We stop being prisoners of envy and start embracing gratitude. And this is not just philosophical, it has practical implications. When we focus on our own growth rather than others, our productivity increases, our creativity flourishes, our relationships deepen because we no longer resent the successes of those around us. Instead, we can celebrate them, and in doing so, we invite positive energy and connection into our lives. I want you to ask yourself, how many moments have I lost to comparison? How many opportunities have passed because I was too busy measuring myself against someone else's path? How many times have I silenced my dreams because they seemed smaller than someone else's accomplishments? Life is not a rehearsal. Every day that passes is a chance to step into your own potential. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to learn, grow, and become stronger. And yet, comparison makes us forget this. It convinces us that we are lacking rather than reminding us that we are enough. I want you to reflect on this simple, powerful idea. You are not behind. You are not less than anyone else. Your path is your own, and it is worthy, meaningful, and significant. The comparison trap often comes dressed as motivation. If they can do it, why can't I? We tell ourselves. But motivation based on comparison is fragile. It depends on external standards and fluctuates with the successes and failures of others. Motivation based on self-awareness, purpose, and personal growth is enduring. It is resilient. It fuels you even when the world seems indifferent, and it sustains you when challenges arise. Think about the times you have looked at someone else's life and felt discouraged. Now imagine redirecting that energy toward your own growth. Imagine focusing on your unique gifts, refining your skills, nurturing your passions, and pursuing your purpose. The difference is transformative. Comparison narrows your vision. Self-focus expands it. Comparison keeps you anxious. Self-focus empowers you. Comparison convinces you that you are small. Self-focus reminds you that you are immense in your potential. And this shift does not require arrogance, pride, or ego. It requires honesty, courage, and a commitment to truth that your life matters, not because it is like someone else's, but because it is uniquely yours. Every person's journey contains milestones that cannot be seen by anyone else. Every life carries lessons that are invisible to the outside observer. Every heart contains courage that is quietly enduring challenges no one else knows about. When we begin to honor this, we stop measuring ourselves against others. We stop trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for us. We begin to walk freely in the path that is ours, embracing both the victories and the failures, the joys and the hardships, the light and the shadows, because each is essential in shaping the person we are becoming. The truth is that comparison is a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed. But changing it requires awareness. It requires mindfulness. It requires the deliberate act of noticing when our thoughts drift toward judgment and measurement, and gently, without judgment, returning them to self-reflection and self-compassion. We must train our minds to recognize that we're not competing with the world, but rather collaborating with our own potential. And in this process, we find a serenity that is rare, yet profoundly liberating. We begin to appreciate that life is not a contest. Success is not a finite resource. Joy, peace, and fulfillment are not diminished because someone else has them. And when we fully internalize this, we no longer feel envy, resentment, or inadequacy. Instead, we feel inspiration, admiration, and gratitude. We feel the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing our own worth, and the humility to know that our journey is never better or worse than anyone else's. It is simply ours. And so, my friends, I urge you to take this moment as a turning point, to release the chains of comparison that silently weigh on your heart, to see your life not through the lens of what others have achieved, but through the lens of what you are becoming every day, every moment, in your own unique way. Let us recognize that the human spirit is infinite and that no two spirits walk the same path. Each of us has the potential to shine in ways that are completely our own, to create a legacy that is uniquely ours, to touch lives and to leave the world a little better because we dared to honor our own journey. And as we step forward with this awareness, we realize the beauty of life is not in replication, imitation, or comparison. It is in authenticity, it is in courage, it is in embracing the fullness of who we are and the endless possibilities that lie within our own hearts. The moment we stop comparing ourselves, we awaken to the richness of our own existence, the depth of our own experiences, and the extraordinary potential that has been waiting within us all along. Today, I want to invite you to pause and reflect on something that quietly shapes the quality of our lives, the clarity of our purpose, and the depth of our fulfillment, the art of focusing on your own journey rather than measuring your life against the milestones of others. In a world that constantly showcases achievements, accolades, and highlights of other people's lives, it is all too easy to become distracted, to lose sight of our own path, and to judge ourselves harshly for what we have not yet accomplished. Yet the truth is profoundly simple. Life is not a race, and your journey is not meant to mirror anyone else's. Each person is walking a unique path, one shaped by personal circumstances, hidden struggles, innate talents, and dreams that no one else can fulfill in the same way. To focus on your own journey is to reclaim ownership of your life, to honor the rhythm of your growth, and to cultivate a sense of purpose that is entirely your own. It begins with awareness. Awareness that your worth is not determined by someone else's achievements, by the number of milestones they have reached, or by the visibility of their success. Awareness that life does not provide a single template for fulfillment, and that the markers of achievement, wealth, recognition, status are often superficial indicators that tell only part of the story. Consider for a moment the person whose life appears flawless on social media, a perfect career, a loving family, exotic vacations, accolades everywhere. We scroll through their posts, comparing ourselves silently and wonder why we do not measure up. But what we do not see are the struggles behind the scenes, the long nights, the failures, the doubts, the sacrifices, the moments of fear and uncertainty. When we compare our private journey to someone else's public highlight reel, we set ourselves up for disappointment. And it is in this space, this unguarded mental territory, that the seeds of discontent grow. Focusing on your own journey requires courage. It requires the courage to step away from the constant barrage of comparisons, to silence the internal critic that measures you against someone else, and to turn inward to your own aspirations and growth. It means embracing the pace that is right for you, understanding that progress is personal and not universal. Some people reach milestones quickly, others more slowly. Some face obstacles that delay their growth, while others encounter advantages that accelerate theirs. There is no right speed, no universal timetable, and no standard that should dictate how your life unfolds. By embracing this truth, you free yourself from the tyranny of comparison and create the mental space to focus on what truly matters: your own growth, your own purpose, and your own fulfillment. Now, focusing on your own journey is not a call to isolation. It is not an excuse to ignore the world or to abandon ambition. Rather, it is an invitation to cultivate clarity, resilience, and self-compassion. By observing your own path with intention, you gain insight into your strengths, your weaknesses, and the experiences that shape you. You recognize patterns, learn from mistakes, and celebrate progress in a way that is authentic. This focus transforms ordinary days into opportunities for growth, setbacks into lessons, and victories into milestones that are deeply meaningful because they are your own. Let us consider the power of small, consistent actions. In a culture obsessed with instant gratification and visible success, we often underestimate the quiet and incremental progress that accumulates over time. A single step taken with intention, repeated daily, leads to transformation. Yet when we focus on others' milestones, we often overlook this, believing that unless our achievements match theirs in size or visibility, they are insignificant. This is a misconception. Every step you take on your own journey, no matter how small, is building the foundation for your future. Each effort is meaningful and each lesson learned is invaluable. When we shift our focus from others to ourselves, we begin to see the beauty in persistence, the power in patience, and the significance of personal growth that cannot be measured by someone else's achievements. Stories of those who have walked unconventional paths are perhaps the clearest illustration of this truth. Think of the artists, scientists, thinkers, and leaders who changed the course of history. Rarely did they measure themselves by someone else's success. They were deeply attuned to their own vision, their own calling, and their own sense of purpose. They understood that comparison was a distraction, a detour from the work they were destined to do. And so they pursued their journey with focus, dedication, and resilience, achieving milestones that were uniquely theirs. The same principle applies to each of us. Your journey, with its unique challenges, opportunities, and lessons, is a story only you can write. The milestones you reach, no matter how seemingly small, are chapters that belong exclusively to you. Focusing on your own journey also cultivates gratitude. When we constantly measure ourselves against others, we overlook the progress we have made, the resources we have, and the opportunities that exist uniquely for us. Gratitude is a lens that allows us to see the value of our own path, to recognize the blessings and learning experiences that accompany each step. It fosters contentment without complacency, a recognition that while there is always room for growth, our lives are already rich with potential and meaning. Gratitude and focus are intertwined. The more we honor our own journey, the more we appreciate what we have accomplished, and the more energy we have to continue moving forward. Moreover, focusing on your own journey strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable and obstacles are inevitable. When we anchor ourselves in someone else's milestones, we are vulnerable to discouragement when our progress is slower or more difficult than theirs. But when we focus on our own path, we measure success by our own standards, navigate challenges with a clear sense of purpose, and maintain confidence in our ability to grow. Resilience emerges naturally from this perspective as we understand that setbacks are part of our unique journey, not a reflection of inadequacy. Let us also consider the power of intention. When you focus on your own journey, every decision, every action, every effort becomes deliberate. You no longer operate out of reaction or comparison. Instead, you make choices that align with your values, your goals, and your vision. This intentionality transforms ordinary routines into meaningful practice, ordinary tasks into steps toward your purpose, and ordinary setbacks into lessons that refine your character. Life becomes not a race to match someone else's milestones, but a mindful, purposeful journey in which every moment contributes to your growth and fulfillment. Think, too, about the relationships we cultivate when we focus on our own journey. Comparison often breeds envy, resentment, and unnecessary tension. But when we are anchored in our own path, we can genuinely celebrate others' successes without feeling diminished. We can offer support, encouragement, and collaboration, fostering relationships rooted in mutual respect rather than competition. By focusing inwardly on our own milestones, we free ourselves to engage more authentically with others, creating communities of growth and encouragement rather than judgment and rivalry. It is essential to recognize that milestones are not inherently negative. They are meaningful markers of progress, accomplishment, and growth. The key is perspective. Your milestones are yours alone, and they need not be validated by comparison to someone else's. A personal victory, whether finishing a project, overcoming a fear, learning a new skill, or simply persisting through a difficult period, is infinitely valuable because it is aligned with your journey. Celebrating your milestones cultivates confidence, reinforces motivation, and affirms your capacity for growth. In practice, focusing on your own journey requires deliberate reflection. Take time to assess your values, your goals, and your progress. Ask yourself, am I moving in alignment with my purpose? Am I dedicating energy to my growth rather than comparison? Am I honoring the lessons of my experiences? By cultivating this awareness, you create a mental and emotional space in which you can fully embrace your journey, acknowledge your achievements, and approach challenges with resilience and clarity. Consider the wisdom of the natural world. Rivers do not compare themselves to one another. They flow according to the terrain they encounter. Trees do not measure their height against their neighbors. They grow according to the conditions they are given. Each element thrives in its own way, and each journey is unique, beautiful, and purposeful. Humans, too, are part of this natural rhythm. When we honor our own journey, we tap into the inherent flow of life, allowing growth to occur naturally and authentically. Focusing on your own journey also requires patience. Milestones do not always appear on our preferred timeline, and progress is not always linear. There will be periods of stagnation, moments of doubt, and challenges that seem insurmountable. Yet each of these experiences is integral to your path. Patience allows you to move forward with confidence, trust in your abilities, and faith in the timing of your life. When we focus solely on others' milestones, we lose patience, become frustrated, and risk abandoning our path prematurely. By centering ourselves, we cultivate endurance, perspective, and wisdom. Finally, focusing on your own journey is an act of self-love. It is an acknowledgement that your life, your experiences, your growth, and your aspirations are inherently valuable. It is a commitment to invest in yourself, to nurture your talents, to embrace your challenges, and to honor the trajectory of your life without interference from external comparison. When you adopt this mindset, you become empowered, grounded, and resilient. You discover that the only measure of success that truly matters is how faithfully you walk your own path, how fully you embrace your purpose, and how courageously you navigate your journey, moment by moment, milestone by milestone.